Hello, beautiful people. So today I am going to be using Astro, a web framework for creating websites, and Cursor AI to create a landing page that we can get up and running very simply with little to no coding experience necessary. So Astro works with a lot of different JavaScript based frameworks, and what makes it desirable for blogs, static based sites, landing pages is because it is really utilizes server-side rendering. And server-side rendering, what it does is that it generates the HTML on the server so that web crawlers can access the content of the site more easily, and that is wanted for SEO purposes, which, if you have a marketing website, that's what you want. You want traffic to your website. So a little background there. There's a lot of good documentation here to find out more. So they also have the ability to clone repositories based on themes. So I found not this one. Found a good one. It's pretty minimalistic, but has a good structure around it for a landing page. And we're going to clone this repo locally and manipulate it, change it around to our liking. So you can go to here, this URL, to find the landing page, and where that brings you is to this GitHub repo. And to actually clone a repository locally, you click code and you get this URL that you can clone to your local URL. So if you don't have cursor.com, so I usually use Visual Studio Code. So if you don't have that, I recommend Visual Studio Code, and then you can go to cursor.com and basically install Cursor directly on top of VS Code. And so once you kind of have those two things in place, then you can open this Cursor IDE, which is built on top of VS Code, and interact with repositories as you wish. So I have that link. I'm going to type in git clone. I'm going to paste it. I'm going to call this hmarketing site, and it's going to clone it locally here. I'm going to cd, which moves me into that specific repository. I'm going to open the folder here. And where did I put it? Here we go. All right. So now I should have access to the contents within that repository. And up next, you have to install the dependencies locally. And so these are third-party dependencies that this repository relies on, and you need to get them downloaded locally so that you can run the site on your specific machine. And to do that, you need to use a package manager. And there's a few different options. There's npm, there's yarn, and then there's pnpm. And the content here shows that you need to use npm to get pnpm. So it depends on what type of machine you have. If you have a Linux-based, Windows-based, or Mac-based. So I do use pnpm because it's kind of like a nicer, more clean version of npm, and it actually condenses files better than npm. But you can use any of them. So pnpm I is pnpm install, and it's going to install all of these packages. And yeah, the dependencies versus dev dependencies is like, these are internal facing dependencies and these are more external ones. So yeah, that's kind of the difference there. So pnpm dev runs a development server. It runs this command here under the hood. So these are different scripts that you can run, pnpm commands of to achieve different things. Okay, so now we can see that we're on a localhost port that is running this landing page, the same one that's being hosted here on this Versal URL. And now we're going to go into the code a little bit more. If you don't have this like Astro icon and your code doesn't look pretty like this, you probably need to install the Astro Visual Studio extension, which adds language support so that you can, so basically that it knows that this is a .astro file, which is very similar to a JavaScript file. They have documentation on the differences, but it looks and acts very similar to a .js or a .ts if it's a TypeScript file. All right, so now that we have this, let's inspect the code a little bit, see what we're working with. So under pages, we see index.astro. This is the only page that we have. It's a single page, and all of these different sections here are components. So you can see that these here under this div are all components. So if I take this hero, I remove it, and I save, you'll see that that gets removed from the page. So we'll add that back, and actually how this data, how this content is stored, or how it is displayed on the page is very nice, and it's another feature of a marketing-based website that you want. So you could see from from Jimmy here, Jimmy Canis, the data actually comes from a JSON file, and what that leverages is you don't really have to dive into different aspects of the code to make a change. It all happens from this JSON file, which doesn't, a lot of regular applications you don't do this exactly, at least for all the content, but for a marketing-based site where maybe people that are less technical are going in there and manipulating the data, it makes it much easier for different types of people to actually make changes and interact with the website. So how that actually is populated is we have on the index page we have this get landing data, which makes a call to the actual JSON data. So this landing.json, this data service is kind of the middleware between the JSON data and the actual page. So we have the data, and then there's like a hierarchy here. So you see data.hero data. If you look at the JSON file, this whole thing is data, and then we have hero data. So only this data here is actually being sent to this specific component. And you can see all the different components here. And again, or astro.props, we're extracting the data, which is what we saw on the last page, and then data.title. So you can kind of follow it down, data, hero data, dot title. So if I, make a change, hero, type in stuff here, blah, 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 you'll see the change on this side. Let's go back to the JSON data. Make a change here. I'll say hello world. Wow. Hello world, and there it shows up there. So that JSON data is what you really should be interacting with. So what I typed in here, there's really no need to type any specific content in the actual Astro file. All right, so now you can kind of see the flow of how content is displayed on here. Let's actually show off, I guess, some cursor capabilities, some AI capabilities with cursor. So let's see. I guess what you can kind of notice here is based on the screen size, the nav bar is showing up or not showing up. So if it is mobile, there's no nav bar right here, which there's different types of mobile experiences you want to show with the nav bar, but let's just get it looking decent on a mobile experience. So we're going to go back to the index.astro. We're going to go into the header component this time, and here is where the actual nav bar is displayed. So actual content is styled using Tailwind CSS. So that's the actual styling framework that is used here in line. There's multiple different types, but Tailwind is nice because it's really easy to get up and running and make changes. There's probably a deeper dive of Tailwind that I could go through, but we're just going to focus on the AI pieces. Just know that Tailwind is a mobile first, so when you're using Tailwind, the specific tags that you make, the specific class, the styling tools and whatnot that you make it follows a mobile first design, which you can read more about in some documentation. But let's use Cursor AI here. So the main commands of Cursor are Control L and Control K. So Control L, you can highlight some code, and you can basically just say, what is this code doing? And it will have like a ChatGPT experience and will explain the different aspects of the code in a more readable way. So that's nice. As far as Control K, that is more of an inline coding change that you can make. So I have the code highlighted, and I want to basically tell it that I want the nav bar to show up on mobile devices. And I do want it to look a little differently than it does here. See how here it is all one row. That might look a little funky on mobile, so I want the logo, the main, Luna landing, I want that to be one column, and I want all of the links to be right below that. So I'm going to type in allow the nav bar to show up on mobile devices. I want the data.logo, which is right here, and that's what's coming from the JSON data. to be one column, and I want the content in the unordered list, the UL, and the UL, let's see if I can get that, to be a column below that. Let's see if it can get it. It's working, it's making some changes, and it's done. So we can accept it, and we can save that, and let's see what we get here. Alright, so it kind of worked. We can see that it's showing, but the column of the tags they're all a column. So we want Luna landing to be a column, and we want all of these to be a column, but within that second column we want these pieces to be a row, and it looks like it did not add that correctly. And that is within this unordered list. I can see where we need to make a change. I guess let's see if it can figure it out on its own. So these MD, it's basically like breakpoint for different screen sizes. And so you got small, medium, large, and basically it's saying that if it's above a medium screen size, which is 768 pixels, it's saying make it a flex row, which we don't really need. We kind of just need this flex row and remove flex column, because it's always going to be a flex row no matter what the screen size is. So there, yeah, it's just kind of removing these tags here, because we always want it to be centered no matter what, and we always want a gap in between each item as well. So there, those are the changes there, but let's actually go back and see if I could use natural language for Cursor to figure this out on itself. And that, I mean, that's just the difference between using natural language. So it's really as if I can describe it well enough, it should be able to make those changes on its own. But I guess that kind of comes down to my ability to prompt it correctly. So let's say I want this to be a flex row no matter what the screen size is, and I want it to be centered with space in between each item. I think that makes sense. So it did change it changed gap X14 to space X8. You know, it shouldn't really matter, but just kind of being aware of what changes were made. So there you go. It was able to make the same changes that I did, and yeah, based on how I was able to prompt it. And yeah, so this should be a functioning. Oh, so now you do have to make sure that it does look good. If you make a change for a mobile design, you got to make sure that it doesn't affect how it looks on actual web page full size. So to fix that, we are going to add this a small tag. so that it's centered only when it's a small screen size, and then we are gonna, well, no, so that's where you got to really wrap your head around it. So that's where the mobile first design matters. So I want it to be justified center because I'm thinking of this as a mobile first design. If it's above a screen size of 768, which is, above mobile, I want to justify end. This should work. There you go. So that looks better. So I'm justifying the aspects here to the end of the page. And I only want that for sizes that are larger than 768 pixels. All right, so I hope that can get you up and running, show you how to use these different tools to get a landing page up running very quickly, and shows that you really can at least make strides even if you don't have any coding knowledge. So if you run into any issues or have any comments, I might have glossed over things that I already have configured that I glossed over, so please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. And yeah, I'm gonna make some more changes to this and can show more in the upcoming videos on how to host it on a cloud provider so that you can actually access the link from a URL. So yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.